Hello everybody, can you please let me know that you can see and hear me? And then we can begin the stream. Please let me know that you can see and hear me. As you can see, I am flying solo today. And yeah, Adam's not around today, so I'm flying solo today. Great to see all of the awesome. Thank you, Martin. Loud and clear, Elaine. Good to see you, my friend. Let us know where you're from. Everybody in the chat, let us know where you're at. We've got Martin here from Rochester in Kent. Graham's here. Great. Hey, Graham. Good to see you again. Morning here. Kalamazoo, Michigan, USA. Kalamazoo. That sounds like it should be. That sounds like Australian to me. Like they have some really like crazy names. Kalamazoo does not sound like an American name to me. Graham, yes, the show usually is on a Thursday. This week it is today, which is obviously a Wednesday. Hey, Gramsci, good to see everybody here. Mark's here from Norway. Awesome, great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for letting me know that you can see and hear me and everything's coming through. Very cool, very cool. Hey, Rick, good to see you, mate. Yeah, okay, great. Listen, everybody, we've got a packed show to get through today. There's so many cool things that I wanted to share with you. Before we do, I just want to say a couple of things. Number one, if you've got any comments, any questions, please post them in the chat. If there's anything in specific that you'd like us to, that you'd like me to talk through today, please let me know. If you've got Q's, I've got A's. Is there any guitar or musical stuff that you'd particularly like us to discuss, please post it in the chat. If there's something that you're struggling with, if there's something that you've always wanted to know about and get better at, please post it in the chat and I will do my best to help you out in the next 45 minutes. Also, number two, we have a Black Friday sale on for NGA membership, which gets you 50% off our annual membership. It's a really super duper deal. Scan the link there, the QR code, and you can go over and sign up there. And I'll post a link in the chat as well. So you've got that too. All right, cool. We're going to dive in, everybody. First of all, I wanted to begin with some chord. I've got a couple of different tips that I wanted to share with you today. These were inspired, or at least some of them were inspired by this week's members live stream. Now, everybody who's an NGA member, once a week we have a members live stream, and it's brilliant. It really is my favorite time of the week. Helping people out, hearing what they're up to. The YouTube live stream is obviously me sort of broadcasting at you. The members live stream is much more interactive than that. People can talk and post their own comments and stuff, and there's always great ideas that that come from there. But one of the things I wanted to share with you today is just a really simple way to play chords that a lot of people don't realize. It's very, very cool. So I'm going to share a beginner tip with you, and then a more intermediate tip, and then a more advanced tip. So the beginner tip is this. Did you know that you can play almost any guitar chord by just using the first 3 strings of that chord? It's a really cool tip. So any beginners that are watching here, check this out. All right, so here is a C chord. Okay, now if I play that C chord, and if you want to, you can just play the first 3 strings of that chord, and then which would just be that finger alone, wouldn't it, here? And that is a C chord. If you are going to play a G bar chord, yeah, let's give her a harder example. Then there's our G bar chord. But did you know that you can just play the first couple of strings of that bar chord? The first 3 strings, see? 1, 2, 3. And that is also a G chord. Now, where this is really, really handy is for those tough beginner chords like F and B flat, things that crop up, you know, down here at this part of the guitar neck. So instead of playing a barred F like this, which is way too hard for a beginner, well, guess what? You can just play the first 3 strings of that chord, which would just be here and here. But what you can do is you just squish those 2 strings down together, and then there, that's an F chord. Now, of course, that doesn't sound as full as the full chord, but it is a version of an F that you can play on any other chord. It's really cool. I didn't know this for years, but when I started teaching one-to-one guitar lessons, I very quickly realized. I think I found a book actually. It was a Hal Leonard book, and it was in one of my students' houses, just like on the table there. and it only had 3-string chords in it. I thought, how cool is that? I didn't realize you can play any guitar chord just using those first 3 strings. So if you're really struggling with chords and you just want to be able to make some sounds, also, you know, I've taught people that have got disabilities or mobility issues, and they just can't play those big, you know, tricky, complex 6-string chords. Try out the 3-string versions. Very, very helpful. All right, so that's my beginner tip for you for today. I also wanted to say, oh, Rick, well spotted. Rick said, Mike, hey Mike, are you not in standard tuning? Well spotted, Rick. Good ears, my man. Rick, I am tuned down a half step. Yeah, I was trying to record a song the other day, and I just the vocals with it wasn't happening. So I've tuned the guitar down a half step to bring the guitar more into my vocal range. But yeah, so if you want to play along with me today, you need to tune down a half step. Or I could just put a capo on the first fret, and then I will be in standard tuning. Well spotted, Rick. Dude, now they're good ears. Very, very good ears. Bruce said, hey Mike, had a cardiology appointment last Monday. Bruce, I hope you're okay, my man. I hope everything went okay. Sending you love, good vibes, mate. Hope everything's okay. Gotta look after your heart, brother. Graham said, how would the 3-string chord work for a B chord, please? Okay, so for a B chord, it's the same thing. Yeah, we just play the first 3 strings. Now a B chord looks like this. It's a horrible chord. Beginners hate B chords. B and B minor are the 2 chords I think beginners hate the most. So a B chord looks like this. Now, of course, that's just too hard for a beginner guitarist to play. They've got no chance of playing that. So to use my 3-string version of that, then all we do is we need to play this note here. Yeah, like there. That note needs to be played. But instead of playing the bar, we're just going to play it with 1 finger. And instead of having these 3 here, we only need these 2. Now for beginners, I hope you can see this, Graham, I hope this makes sense. But for beginners, a lot of people find it easier to play it like that. Okay, so you're playing 3 strings, and that's a B chord that you're playing. Yeah, it's a perfectly accurate B chord. The only problem is it doesn't have much low end, and that's the issue when you play those you know, first 3-string chords. If you're struggling to play a B, Graham, then I would recommend that you just play a B7 chord instead. So a B7 chord looks like this, 1 finger here, 1 here and 1 there. And that's much easier to play than that. But it sounds pretty similar, yeah? If you're a beginner guitarist and you can't play B, play B7. It's the best alternative version that you can play until you can progress to the point where you can play a full B chord. Okay, so let me go on to the next thing I wanted to share with you here. All right, so we were speaking on the members live stream this week. As I said, NJ members, we have a weekly live stream. And on the live stream this week, we were covering, I'm trying to remember what the actual topic name was. It was something like how to learn the notes of the fretboard easily. It was something very similar to that. And basically what we were talking about was how do we help memorize all the notes that are on the neck, because you know there's too many of them, so we have to make it easier. And I just wanted to share a very cool tip, which is that if you want to remember the notes of the guitar neck, of course you can't memorize them all immediately, but it's very useful if you can memorize the notes that are on the 3rd, 5th and 7th frets. So check this out. So where the dots are on the guitar neck, yeah, let me change to the other camera there. Yeah, so I have a dot here. That's the 3rd neck. Sorry, that's the 3rd fret. That's the 5th fret. That's the 7th fret. So if we just stick with them for now, okay? 3, 5, 7. Okay, so those 3 frets that we just looked at there are, if I say, actually let me change from that and I'll say, that's the 3rd fret, that's the 5th fret, that's the 7th fret. Okay, and we're going to say that the E string is here, E, A, D, G, B, E. All right, so what we're looking at there is we have the thickest string running along the neck here. Yeah, I hope you get this. The next thickest string there, and so on. Now we're only going to look at those three strings that I've just drawn there. But if you prefer, you can also call those strings the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th strings. And people sort of call them differently. The problem with naming the strings like this is that sometimes people are in alternative tunings. Okay, so if you were going to call them that, you would call them strings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right, so if you can memorize the notes that are here, 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 and here, you're off to an absolute flyer. Okay, so you don't need to learn all of the notes. There's loads of them. But if you can learn these 9, then that really gives you a massive head start in figuring out what's happening on the guitar neck. So here we go. This note here is G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay, so I just want you to see that the notes that I've written there are basically just the alphabet. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, with an A added at the end. Yeah, can you see that? It's literally just the notes of the alphabet. And they are appearing right here. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Now that's too hard to remember. Just learn the notes on that on the 6th string, G, A, B, which is a really useful one. Gab. If you can picture the word gab, like two people having a gab, that's an English saying for people that are having a chat. G, A, B, then that will help you get a foothold in the neck, and you can broaden out from there and learn the other notes that are around that, as long as you know the musical alphabet. But you know, like I just like the way that if you take it onto that extra string, you know, it's a G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. It's relatively easy to remember, and because the dots are there on the guitar, it kind of helps guide you. I hope that that helps. Bruce says, spoiler alert, it's 4ths all the way to the B string. Yeah, the guitar is such a crazy instrument to learn. It's so weird, you know. It's much easier to learn a piano than it is to learn, you know, the notes on the guitar. Okay, let me have a look at the comments here and see if there's anything that I have missed out I want to reply to before we move on to the next. Oh, by the way, everybody, any NGA members who are on here, by the way, we're finally doing a country course, which I'm really excited about. Adam's putting together a country course for everybody. So I know we have lots of country fans inside NGA. If you're a National Guitar Academy member, we've got, about 11 or 12 courses, you know, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, strumming, chords, bar chords, finger picking, blues, how to use a looper, pentatonic stuff. There's all kinds of stuff in there. Theory, music theory. But yeah, we've never had a country course, and we're finally putting one together. If anybody has got anything they would particularly like to see inside a country course from us, please let us know, because, you know, country, it's not really a thing in the UK compared to, you know, how it is in the US, where it's a much bigger deal. We've got loads of members who are fans of country music. Please let us know if there's anything that you'd like us to include. Post it in the forum, in the members forum, or just let us know on the live stream next week, because we are filming it this week. Well, like in the next 7 days. Very cool. I'm looking forward to going deeper on country music. Okay, so let me catch up on some of these questions here. Okay, we've got a question here from Blue Boy. Mike, you asked for questions. I did, Blue Boy. Thank you for responding. Here is mine. How can I change strings on a guitar with a Bigsby system? In my case, it's a Gretsch Electromatic with 3 Tron humbucker pickups. Pretty rare. Yeah, so I've never owned a guitar with a Bigsby, so I don't actually know, because I've never owned one. But I'm not imagining it would be. I'm imagining it wouldn't be that different to another guitar. For anybody who isn't aware of what a Bigsby is, I'm trying to bring one up here on the iPad to share with you. Here we go. Let's switch over to the iPad and then you can see. Okay, so the Bigsby is this thing at the bottom. It's actually there, isn't it? That thing on the bottom of that one. Let's go. So there you go. You can see it just by itself there. So it's basically like a tremolo system, I guess, is the easiest way to put it, isn't it? It's like how on the Strat you might have like a whammy bar, but a Bigsby is I think the idea is that it's a more stable, um, it gives you a more stable trem system. So I don't, yeah, I didn't, honestly, Blue Boy, I didn't know it was any different to any other guitar. But like I said, I've never owned a Bigsby. There will definitely be, if we were on the members live stream, there would definitely be somebody on here that would know. My man Bruce. Okay, so I knew Bruce would know. Of course Bruce knows. They wrap around the bridge and are fairly accessible. Yeah, so yeah, Blue Boy, I'm sorry, I wish I could give you a definitive answer to that. But without actually having one here in the studio that I can look at, I can't see it being a big issue. I don't think it's anything that you're going to need like a guitar tech for or anything like that, or a luthier. I'm sure it's something you could figure out yourself if you searched on YouTube for it. I don't think it would be super hard. But they are unusual Bigsby's, very cool as well. Like, you know, they feel much more solid to me than using a whammy bar. I have played them in guitar shops and stuff. But yeah, so yeah, let us know. Let us know how that goes. Let us know next time if you manage to figure it out. Okay, Glenn says, if I drop my baby finger onto the first string, second fret, first string, second fret, what is that chord called if without it is a B7? Glenn, I'm sorry, mate, I don't quite follow. If you could post a better description or... yeah, that would be like the bottom. I think what you're saying is like that would be like the bottom of like a B7 chord. So like a B7 would be like this. If you added that on the bottom, that would be that would still be a B7. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, so that's B7. If you add that on, it's actually still B7. It's just a different voicing. And it's a very, very cool voicing of B7. If you take this finger away, that becomes a B minor 7, which is a brilliant way to play B minor. So instead of playing B minor like this, you could just play it like that. That's a real lifesaver for beginner guitarists that can't play bar chords yet. Glenn, I think I answered your question. Let us know if I didn't, and I will happily explain a little bit more. Martin, oh yeah, Martin, let us know. Martin says, my birthday party is finally here on Saturday, featuring my performing debut at the young age of 70, minus a few days. Martin, dude, you have to let us know how this goes, because I know you've been like planning away for this for a while. What are you performing again, Martin? Remind us, what are you playing at the birthday party? And how is it going? Are you feeling confident? Do you need any last minute tips? Is there anything you're struggling with? Let us know. Be happy to help. Johnny said, Mike, what exercise to stretch your pinky to reach 2 frets down, please? So I think what Johnny means is for like doing stuff like, maybe for doing like, you know, hammer-ons. That type of thing, maybe? Maybe that type of thing, or maybe just some lead. So Johnny, what I would say is, Johnny, I think you are an NGA member. We actually did a live stream on this not long ago, where we had a full live stream. In fact, we did 2 that were all about guitar exercises, improving your dexterity, your accuracy, and your fingers. Adam did one, I think, while I was on holiday, and then we did a joint one when I got back. If you go and look in the live stream section of the forum, you'll find all of the resources there for it that we covered. We went into that in lots of detail, and Adam is the hand guy, remember? Like, he knows all of the stretches. I hope that helps. We covered that in lots of detail, so go and check it out. Yeah, happy birthday, Martin. Glenn, yeah, Glenn, cool. Glenn, that's great. Mate, you can be our guinea pig for the country course. You can let us know how it goes. All right, so listen, I'm going to come away from the chat for a sec. I want to get back to our plan for today's live stream, and then I will return to the chat and the questions very, very soon. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to share was a bit of gear. Now, for anybody who isn't aware of this, we have we try to cover some gear each week on this live stream. Try to highlight a piece of useful musical equipment, gear, technology, maybe a pedal, an accessory, an effect, something along those lines that will be useful for people to know. So this week it is a tried and tested SM57. Okay, now anybody who isn't familiar with this microphone, it's an industry standard recording microphone. It's used, I think it probably is the most common microphone in the world. I think it probably is in a professional setting. It's relatively cheap. Like you can see, that one there is like £92, so usually about $100, something like that. They're built like tanks. It's a dynamic mic, so it doesn't require any power. And it's got quite a sort of contoured frequency range. It's really good at picking up loud sound sources like a guitar amplifier. So if you're miking up an amp on stage, you would often use something like an SM57. Also works well with acoustic guitars. It's not really a vocal mic, but it absolutely is fine for recording vocals. I've used them a few times. For vocals, you would tend to use something like an SM7 or an SM58 is kind of the industry standard live mic. But the SM57, if you don't have one and you're interested in recording pretty much anything at home or anywhere else, then please pick up one of these microphones. They're absolutely great. Like I said, they're built like tanks. They last forever. I've got several of them. They're very, very cool. SM57 mics. Love them. Very, very useful. Okay, Lisa, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, Lisa said, hit the like button, everyone. Thank you, Lisa. And thanks for the reminder. I always forget to say that. Everybody, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 40,000 subscribers before the end of the year, which would be amazing. That'll be a great milestone for us to reach. So yeah, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Glenn said, I am working on hybrid picking. Chicken picking. Yeah, cool. Nice one, Glenn. Sounds amazing, chicken picking. Yeah, you mentioned that on the members live stream, didn't you, earlier this week? That's good, mate. Let us know. Let us know how that goes. Elaine said, cheaper alternative to Shure SM57 is Lane Prodeep TT. Same performance, half the price. Yeah, sounds cool, Elaine. I'm not a sound engineer, so I'm not really up on like the latest mics. I don't follow it closely. But yeah, mate, that's very cool. That's very useful, and certainly. If it's as good as the SM57, it must be a very cool mic. So thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, let me just cycle back through some of these comments here. Yeah, okay, cool. I think we're pretty much up to date. I want to make sure we don't leave anyone hanging here. Yeah, Lisa said, just found a cool TV series from New Zealand called Broken Wood Mysteries. And it features a lot of country music, nothing commercial. It's really cool music on that show. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? When you find a TV show that's got like good music, it kind of opens a door to like a whole new artist or vibe or like type of music that you're into. I've just recently started listening to a band called Jungle, which are like a very successful band. And I know a couple of the tracks, but I just never really heard of them until they were put on my radar this week. And yeah, I'm really enjoying listening to Jungle. It's not like jungle music, the genre. The artist, like the name of the band is actually Jungle. Check them out. I've been listening to them on Spotify this week. Very cool. And my TV tip, Lisa, while we're sharing TV recommendations, I've just started watching A Murder at the End of the World on Disney+. It's cool. Yeah, it's like kind of mysterious premise with some really like cool atmospheric vibes, and it's basically like a Gen Z Sherlock Holmes is how the show was pitched. It's really interesting. All right, so let's get back on track, everybody. Right, the next thing I wanted to share with you was our Artist of the Week. Or actually, more specifically, this is an Album of the Week. Now, the Album of the Week is Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden. Now listen, we may not have many metal fans on here. I'm going to say this. I can only say it because Adam's not here. I'm not really a big metal fan. Okay, so metal music, it's not really my thing. It's a little bit too, or I think at times it's a bit too shreddy. There's too many notes for me. I prefer stuff that's a bit more melodic and has a bit more space as a general rule. I'm not a big metal guy. When I was a kid, I had some older cousins that loved Iron Maiden. and they had posters everywhere of like, you know, Eddie, that like scary Iron Maiden skeleton mascot guy. And when I was a kid, I was I was terrified of Eddie because he just looked scary. You know, it was like a horror, something off a horror movie or something like that. And it was only when I got older that I actually started to listen to Iron Maiden, and like it's so good. It's so good. So if anybody here on the live stream isn't hip to Iron Maiden, like you've got to at least give it a try. And I think Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is a great place to begin. It's such a cool album. My cousin Vince recommended it to me. It was his favorite album. And I remember years and years ago, we were driving back from somewhere. I think we'd been out for a night out or a gig or something, and he was playing this album full blast through the car stereo as we were driving along the motorway, and it was just seemed like this noisy rubbish to me. And it was like 10 years later when I actually got into it. Right, why is this such a good album to get into? Right, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son came out in 1988 by Iron Maiden. It is, for me, it is, number one, it's lots of fun, it's over the top, it's energetic, it's theatrical. There's so much power in the music, its musicality is just off the charts. There's great melodies in there. It isn't just shouting and like distorted guitars, which I think metal at its worst is. These are great songs, and they're delivered in through the sort of aesthetic, you know, veneer of metal. But if you can get used to the sort of the aesthetic of it, you can hear that there's brilliant songs that are in there too. So many great ideas. Ambition as well, you know, so many ambitious, big ideas. Amazing guitar moments. And just, you know, if you just turn everything up to 11, like in every way, you know, that is what, to me, what that album is. You got Christopher Lee on there doing some like hammer, like horror style voiceovers. It's just epic. It's so much fun. If you're not a metal fan, go and listen to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And if you are a metal fan, you already know this album anyway. Ryan said, just saw Iron Maiden in Calgary. They still rock. Yeah, they totally do, Ryan. They totally do. I saw them play recently, not live, but I watched a live performance by them recently, and it was amazing. And also, I just think it's so cool that Bruce Dickinson, like, is a pilot and like actually flies the band. You know, what an absolute dude Bruce Dickinson is. Such an interesting man. You know, multi-talented, polymath. You know, knows so much about so many different subjects. You know, he's a successful entrepreneur. He's a writer. He's a musician. He's a pilot. And I love that I'm pretty sure that the call sign of the plane is something like IM666 or something like that. So cool. Like the band go on tour and he flies the plane. I love that. Absolutely love that. Martin said, I'm a pilot too. Cool. Martin, I didn't know that. Very cool. Very cool. Glenn said he saw them in Toronto at the CNE grounds in 1980. Wow, that must have been one hell of a gig, Glenn. Great time to see them. Yeah, Bruce, you're right. It is a bit testosterone driven metal. It is. It's very like dominating, and you know, but it's so much fun. It really is. It's great. Okay, just catching up on the chat here. Thank you for all of the comments there, everyone. Some really useful stuff there. Ed Force One. Ryan, is that what it's called? Is that the call sign of the plane? I hope it is. That would be so good. Yeah, Glenn, I bet they were. Seeing Iron Maiden in 1980 would be a gig to remember. Very, very cool. Okay, let's get back on track, everybody. Check out Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. That's the last thing I'm going to say about that. And then the final sort of thing I wanted to recommend this week was I wanted to point out a theory tip. Now, this is more of an advanced tip, okay? So if you're a beginner guitarist, don't worry about this. This is more of an advanced tip. But this is something, lately I've been starting to write songs in more minor keys, because I tend to write songs in major keys, but lately I've been writing them in minor because I think it's a bit more fun and they sound a bit more atmospheric and cooler as well, I think, just in general. So I'm trying to actively write more stuff in minor keys. Now I just wanted to point out something here. Let's switch over to the iPad. Right, follow along with me here, everybody, because this is very cool for anybody who's interested in composition, or anybody who just wants to understand why sometimes chords don't seem to fit in their key. I'm going to whiz through this just for a couple of minutes. Hopefully you can follow this with me. All right, we're going to build a scale here, right? We're going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. Now these are going to be the notes of our scale. Now you will often see these written like this. They'll be in Roman numerals. You'll often see them written in this way. And the capitalized ones are the major chords usually. And, well, not usually, always. And the lowercase ones are the minor chords. So if this were, for let's say for argument's sake, this is the key of C, then I'm going to write C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, so these at the top here are the degrees of the scale. Yeah, we refer to them as scale degrees. Okay, these here are the notes of the scale. I'm sorry that looks a little bit compact there, but I hope you can see that. So, all right, cool. So I've got my scale degrees along the top here, and I've written them here as just 1 to 8, but you will often see them presented like this in Roman numerals. And the notes in the C major scale are there. Now, if we were going to say make this into chords, then the chords would be C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, or you could just play that as B minor, and then C. Okay, hope everyone follows this okay. What we've just been looking at there is how the chords of a scale, how the notes of a scale become the chords of a key. Very, very, very important thing that I didn't know for years. And some people, when they hear this, it just blows their mind because they're like, oh, I get it. The notes of a scale become the chords of the key in the way that I've just shown to you. So a C note becomes a C chord. A D note becomes a D minor chord in the key of C. E becomes E minor, F becomes F, G becomes G, A becomes A minor, B becomes B diminished or B minor, C becomes C. All right, so you guys have seen me share this before in the past, I'm sure, because we've spoken about this loads and loads of times, that you can quickly find out the chords of any key by just using that pattern on the guitar where you just go to the root note on the top. There's C. And if I just come down one string and along 2, they give me the other 2 major chords in the key. So C, F, G. They are the 3 major chords in the key of C, and that works in any key. If I want to know the 3 major chords in the key of A, I'll go to A. That note is A, so the major chord is A. That note is D, the major chord is D, that note is E, the major chord is E. So A, D, and E are the 3 major chords in the key of A. Maybe you know that, maybe you don't. If you don't know that, it's okay, because you can use the guitar as a tool to figure it out. As long as you know the notes on the E and A string, you can figure out any music theory you need to using the guitar as a tool. You don't have to remember it. You can work it out with this thing that's in your hand. Okay, so if we go back to C, so here's my C note, C, F, and G are my 3 major chords. Yeah, they're my 3 major chords in the key of C. Or I could play them down here if I wanted, couldn't I? C, F, G. All right, and if I want to figure out the 3 minor chords in the key, I just go to the root note again, C, and instead of going here, here, and here, I just go down 3. So from C, I go down 3 frets. 1, 2, 3, and I repeat the pattern, but these are minor now. So A minor, D minor, E minor. So yeah, a key has 3 major chords and 3 minor chords, and now we can work them out in any key. This is absolutely amazing. Such a huge time saver, such a fretboard hack, maybe the best one of all. So very quickly I just figured out, cool, if I want to know some chords that work well together, there's 6. C, F, G, A minor. What else did we go to there? We had D minor and E minor. So I can play my D minor here, my E minor here. And I know they're all going to sound okay. I can combine them in any way and they're going to sound okay. Where am I going to go next? I can go to any of those chords. I go to F, to G. Let's try A minor. How does that sound next? G, F, C, E minor, D minor. Yeah, some of those changes sound more satisfying than others, but none of them sound wrong or atonal because they're all in the same key. Okay, very, very cool way to quickly figure out the chords of any key and understand how they work together. But there's a final twist that I want to share with you here, which works really, really well. I've been playing around with this week and I wanted to share it with you all. And that is that this chord here, you can also make that into a major chord or a 7 chord. And it sounds really, really cool. Okay, so sometimes when you hear a chord that sounds great, it sits slightly outside the key. A lot of the time, this is the reason why. I think this is the most common time in popular music when a chord modulates away from its tonal center. Like it's like, you know, most music is in a piece of key. It's in one key and it's coherent for most of the song in popular music. But you'll sometimes get these outlying chords. This is the most common outlying chord. So if we were playing in the key of C, I might be playing C, A minor, E minor. But what happens if I change that E minor and make it major? Listen to the difference. This crops up in all kinds of stuff, you know, Hotel California, and it's in a million things. Listen to the major. It really makes a difference, not only to the intervals and the harmonies that have come before and after it, but to the options it can open up for what comes next. You can use that chord as a bridge to move into a different key. It's really, really epic. So if we've got any songwriters on the call today, please make a note of this. It's really useful. It's a great way to make a song that you play not sound too obvious. If you write a song and you only ever use the chords that are inside a given key, especially if you're just using the major chords, it can sound a bit basic, you know? It can sound a bit like, I don't know, like something like Status Quo at their worst, where it's just 3 chords, you know? It's like, you know, it can sound facile and too simplistic and almost kind of childish and naive and not very sophisticated at all. But if you can put in some extra chords that still work harmonically really well, but sit outside and are a bit less obvious. Paul Weller is amazing at this. Amazing. He'll have a bridge or a middle 8 where everything shifts and all of a sudden we're in a completely different place. And somehow it works. And then he comes back to where he was earlier on. The Beatles were also fantastic at this. They would use chords that shouldn't fit the key. Oh, sorry, that weren't in the key and shouldn't work, but they would make them work. I think that's because a lot of the time they weren't constrained by music theory. Paul McCartney especially, he actively avoided music theory. So it was just kind of trial and error, and if it sounds good, it is good, rather than, oh, I'm not going to attempt that because it's not in the right key. All right, so I'm sorry if we've gone a little bit down the theory rabbit hole there, but I want to make sure there's some more advanced stuff in here for the people who are interested in that. Lisa, thank you. Lisa said, NGA has the best guitar hacks out there, hands down. Yeah, well, we do work pretty hard at it, Lisa, so thank you for noticing that. Thank you for pointing that out. Um, yes, so no, Graham, it wasn't an E major. Like in the key, it should have been E minor. Like that would be, you know, the tonally, you know, in terms of key harmony and key theory, that would an E minor would be correct. But you can turn it into an E chord, or for extra bonus points, you can turn it into an E7. Listen to how an E7 chord sounds after a C. I think it sounds amazing. All right, so here's a song. I'm going to begin in the key of C. To me, that is just an amazing chord change. I love the way that sounds. Going from a C to an E7 is so cool. There's so many different places you can go from there. Whereas if you just stay in the key and play an E minor, it sounds like this. That works perfectly, of course. It's in a million songs. And you can hear how there's no rough edges on that. When you hear that, that sounds really coherent to me. So let's go from a C to an E minor. That works perfectly, doesn't it? All the notes are in the same key. So it sounds really, really beautiful together. It works great. But if we go from the C to the E7, it's got some bite to it, hasn't it? It's something's on the edge there. There's some tension. Remember, all music can be reduced to tension and resolution. And we hear it there, don't we? We feel that we're being pulled somewhere else. Yeah, very, very cool. So if you want something new to play around with, please check that out. It's that whatever key you happen to be playing in or recording in or writing in or whatever it might be, then please check that out. If you, oh sorry, press the wrong one. There's this one here. For the third scale degree, you can, where it should be, you know, where you've got that third scale degree that you're building off there, it should be minor, but you can make it major or you can make it a 7. All right, I hope that helps. Any songwriters out there, play around with that one. It will take you in some really cool and unusual directions. And it sounds really different in different keys. So like, you know, we were playing it there in C, but if you do it in A instead, I just love how that sits. Yeah, Bruce, sometimes they do get referred to as borrowed chords. You're right, yeah. It's like you're sort of borrowing a chord from a different key. But sometimes they're the best moments. A lot of the time they're the chords that make you go like, oh, you know, when you're like, oh, I love that bit. A lot of the time that's because it was a chord that shouldn't be there, but it totally works in that context. Okay, everybody, if you've got any final questions, please drop them in the chat because we are going to be wrapping up very, very soon. Also, I just wanted to point out here for any NGA members that are on the call, we are starting the song club next week. So for anyone who's not hip to this, we are starting something called the NGA Song Club, where our members basically, we're all going to learn a song together. It's going to be a Christmas song is what we're going to begin with. So we're going to publish a beginner version and a more advanced version for people that want more stuff. So we'll have like basic chords, but then we'll also have maybe like a simple tab. And it's essentially like a sort of a project that everybody can learn together, discuss, a bit like you might get like a book club, you know, but we're going to have like a song club where we can all talk about a song together and learn it together. It's going to be very cool. That will be in the forum, in the community section of the NGA forum. You will find that in there very, very soon. Yeah, Glenn, I'm looking forward to it as well. Graham says Slade. Yeah, it probably should be Slade, shouldn't it? Yeah. Or what's the other one? The Wizard track. They're the two. I always get them mixed up because they both sound like Noddy Holder, the Slade track and the Wizard track. Yeah, it might be one of them. It may well be. But I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to like everybody just chipping in and sharing tips, you know, with one another. Yeah, it's going to be very, very cool. Also, anybody who hasn't taken their guitar metrics assessment yet, please take it, because there's still like lots of people joined recently when we had the big membership promotion, but not everybody's taken the guitar metrics assessment. So guitar metrics is for NGA members. They get their own personalized guitar learning plan. But if you haven't got yours yet, please start it. Guitar metrics is very cool. It will show you exactly what you need to do next, connect you to the best NGA courses to improve you. So if you're an NGA member, you haven't taken your guitar metrics assessment yet, please do it. It's epic. Really, really useful. Everybody, I think we are pretty much out of time. I covered everything I wanted to there. Remember, you can get our Black Friday deal, which is 50% off our membership. Click the, scan the link, the QR code that's in the picture here. I'll also drop a link to it in the description. And you can get 50% off annual NJ membership, and that will finish on Monday. So it's like a Black Friday weekend deal. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Great to see you all. Thank you for your comments. Hopefully Adam will be back next week. I hope you've picked up some cool new guitar tips, some new ideas that you can play around with this week. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That's what we're aiming for. Everybody, have a great day. Thank you very much, and I will see you very soon.